Hey, hope you're having a great Friday. Just been working on some video projects over here and been excited to have this first live stream. I wasn't really sure how many people were going to tune in for it, so I thought we'd just start off by talking a little bit about some of the projects that I'm working on right now. I've had a big pile of keyboards that have been just getting piled up around my house to review. I'm looking at this one by Sateki right now. This one has been pretty neat, mechanical keyboard. They also sent me another keyboard that is kind of designed to look like one of the Apple keyboards, and this one has a number pad on it as well, which I'm typically not a big fan of the number pad, but this one really has that Mac feel really well. I've also been checking out the Newfie Air series, the V275, for a while. I haven't got the video done for that one quite yet. It's been a very interesting keyboard with a lot of great features, but I haven't been able to get the QMK to work on it yet, which has been a little bit annoying to me to try and figure that out. I've mostly done Logitech keyboards in the past and used the Logi Options Plus software as a way to customize what the different keys do. So it's been kind of fun to learn about some of the different keyboards. Some people take the keyboard world a lot more seriously than I do. I tend to focus on the things that people will want to know more of in an office or video editing environment, and if just from a less technical perspective, because that's not what most people care about. But anyways, if we're going to get right into it, I did get a comment asking if I actually like iPads. I thought that was kind of an interesting comment. So I haven't bought a new iPad in a long time. Actually, I'm not sure the last time I've even bought a new iPad. I did buy an iPad in 2020. I think it was the one right before they did the Apple Silicon chips on the inside of it. And this one's still running strong. I've got the Apple Magic Keyboard on it. It works great. I mostly just use the iPad to type notes out and to write stuff when I don't want the distraction of a full computer and just all the different apps on the computer. So I don't consider myself to be a pro iPad user as much as I just use an iPad Pro because that was what was available at the time. But for me, any iPad works to get the job done that I need to do. I just need to type notes on it without any distractions. So I do think that Apple's a little bit out of line with what they're charging for a lot of the iPads right now. I mean, some of those are more expensive than the MacBook Airs, and you can do a lot with an M1 MacBook Air or the M2, M3, whichever version they're on now or about to come out with. Those are all a great option. I use an M1 MacBook Air sometimes as a secondary computer, and I've been really happy with it for most of the stuff that I want to do. The thing that really gets on my nerves still about the iPads is just trying to move files around on them, even with the USB-C port. Apple's Files app on iOS and iPad OS is pretty much a disaster, in my opinion. You can't tell how far along stuff is when it's copying, and it's just kind of annoying to deal with. So for someone like me, I'm dealing a lot with video editing, music editing, and there's just massive file sizes. So it gets really frustrating to try and move projects around or even to use it on the iPad, but they've definitely come a long ways. I would just love to see if they could somehow just bridge the gap between iPad OS and Mac OS and make it where all the apps are cross compatible, which they've kind of done already in some ways, allowing you to use some of the iOS apps on your computer, but it's definitely not all the way there yet, as far as being totally happy with the performance and the amount of power and the ease of use on it. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of iPads for professional work, but I think an iPad can be a great tool to use alongside a computer. So a lot of times I got my computer over here. A lot of times I have my iPad down below the computer, and I will use that to just type some notes off to the side. So if I'm editing a video, I don't have to keep opening up the notes app on my computer. I can just go over to my iPad and type something out real quick if I need to get another shot, or if I have something that I need to adjust later on. So yeah, I'm not as big of a fan of the iPad, but I do think that they've definitely come a long ways over time. So a couple things about me that I haven't necessarily gotten to share on the channel before. I like to talk tech, obviously, but I do a lot of live production. So I do lighting, sound, video. I've been a video editor, photographer for 7 or 8 years now. So I've been doing video for a long time, but I think it was just 2 years ago I started making YouTube videos, and I was absolutely terrified to be on camera. And honestly, being on a live stream right now, this is the first one I've done. It's not super fun to me to actually be on the camera side. I much prefer to be getting awesome shots and doing the editing, doing all the post-production, the behind-the-scenes stuff. That's still what I do for my day job. I'm all behind the scenes, and I love being the guy that makes sure that a production goes smooth and just all the setup, the infrastructure. I do a little bit with IT, some network infrastructure type of stuff as well. I really enjoy that as well. So yeah, that's kind of a start to just who I am. Oh, thank you. Appreciate that comment. Um, what else do I do? So I've been a big Mac fan for a long time too. I get a lot of comments on videos asking if I can do a review of something for a Windows computer or for gaming. I don't game. I wish I had the time to game, but I've got a stack of videos to edit right now. It just feels like there's always something that needs to be worked on, either on the computer or around the house. So I'm not a gamer. I haven't owned a Windows computer in like 15 years too, so I don't know much about Windows at all. In one of my previous jobs, I was doing a lot of IT work, and I would get a ton of questions about how to do stuff on Microsoft Outlook, and I would basically just Google it and help people figure out what they needed to know, but I definitely am not a Windows expert. But if anyone has any recommendations of a good solid Windows computer, I would definitely appreciate those, because I've been needing to pick one up for a while, so I can have that as a way to do some SSD tests on it. I really like reviewing SSDs as well. I've got a drawer back there full of SSDs, and sometimes it's kind of hard to do a review of them because they all get negative comments, because people will say that that SSD crashed on them, and I totally believe people, and I feel bad for people when that happens. But yeah, when I do a SSD review, I typically just start out by going through the speeds of it, going through the warranty on it, what level of professionalism that you can expect to get out of that drive. And the big issue that I have is on every single one, it doesn't matter how cheap or expensive or what brand it is. It can be Samsung, SanDisk, Crucial, any of the other ones. People always have negative comments, and they say, oh, this drive crashed on me, which I really hate. Like, I've had drives crash a long time ago. It's been many years since it's happened to me, but you just kind of learn that you have to copy stuff over to multiple file locations, because you're not safe if your data is just on one drive. And then the other thing that's really annoying about those comments too is it might be one comment in every 100 people who have used that drive, but it's always the people who have had a bad experience with one who go putting a comment on the internet. So one, I've actually got it right here, one that people comment on all the time is this SanDisk Pro G40 drive, and people say that this drive has crashed on them, and they'll buy it and they say it crashes a little bit later. I've been using this drive for over a year. I've edited so many projects on it. I put all the project files on it, edit it, and I've never had any issues with it overheating, bogging down, or slowing down. But I get so many comments saying that the drive's not lasting for them. So I don't know what to say when I get comments like that, and I typically just try to write people and say, I'm sorry, contact the support on it. But from my experience, it's been fine. But yeah, a minute ago I was saying I have a whole pile of drives back there. I try to rotate through drives as well, just so I can make sure I'm still testing stuff and keeping up to date with it. And I also think something a lot of YouTubers don't do that we could probably do better at is go back to an old video. So if we did an initial impressions or something like that, then we can go back in later on and put an updated pinned comment on it, just in case there were any things that were wrong in the video or anything that we learned over time that maybe we didn't pick up in the initial review. So anyways, I still haven't had any issues with any of the SSDs I've reviewed recently, but I get a ton of comments about those as well. Another thing I was going to talk about in this video is produced versus authentic content. And this is something that a lot of people, I think, on the internet are talking a lot about, unedited content and just trying to make content that is more off the cuff. And I've been doing a little bit more of that recently, so I don't know if anyone's picked up on it. No one has left a comment telling me that they've noticed, but my Wednesday videos have been unedited videos, so if I cough or sneeze or something like that, I will take it out of the video. But there's been no B-roll on it, no filler shots, which is painful for me because I love to shoot B-roll. I love using sliders and stuff like that. Yes, I have got that comment from a couple people. Actually, it's kind of funny. One of my favorite things is seeing who people think I look like. But yeah, I've had 2 or 3 people say I look like Bill. I'm trying to think of some of the other ones that I've heard recently. Someone had mentioned Matthew Broderick recently. I thought that was kind of funny. Someone said Pete Davidson one time. I didn't really see that one, but yeah, I'm here for the doppelganger comments. It always makes me laugh. But yeah, we were talking about off the cuff topics and stuff like that. So I've done some more videos like that. They don't always get as many views as some of the other ones that are a specific video about a specific product. Like I've just got it sitting here. So like the Pro G40, if I make a video about the Pro G40, it's going to get more views than if I just go off and make a video about principles of data storage or something like that, or how I try to store my files. Yeah, another thing that has kind of gone along with that too is it's really hard to make sure that you're hitting on a little bit of Pete Anvil. That's funny. Yeah, I should try to use some AI thing and combine them later on and see what it comes up with, and see if it comes up with a picture of me. But yeah, another kind of thing that I've been messing with a little bit more is wanting to do some more tutorials and just some setup type of stuff. I feel like I'm not always the best at titling things where people find the content. So I've got this rig, it's over there right now, you can't see it, but it's like my all-in-one cart that has a teleprompter on it. It has a thing that you can adjust the height of the camera on it. It's got power, it's got everything. And that video got like 250 views, and I was trying to find a video like that a couple months ago. So I try to make videos that are what I would have liked to find, but sometimes it's hard to title those sort of things. Another one that, if you haven't seen it, watch my video on my lighting rig. Again, I'm showing you all this stuff, you can't see it, but I've got this whole lighting rig up there that we're not using it right now. I've just got a light on a stand in front of me. But yeah, I built this rig out on my ceiling so I could hang lights out of the way, mount a top-down camera and stuff like that. But I want to do more how-to videos like that. It's just kind of hard to get people to actually watch them. So those also tend to take a lot of work too, to make sure that you get all the details in that people would want to know if they were going to be doing that setup themselves, and then no one watches it. So I mean, it's not no one, like if it helps one person, it's definitely helpful. Another thing I've been messing with recently, I've been shooting a lot of other videos for another YouTube channel with my phone. I just picked up the Osmo Pocket 3 as well. I'm shooting on the Lumix S5 IIX for this video, and that's what I use for most of my videos. I had some Sony cameras for a long time too. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I wonder how much people care if you're using a full camera. Oh, I guess I got one right here. I got two of the S5 IIX. This camera is so great, and it gets super crisp video quality. But sometimes I wonder if most people are even paying attention to or care that it's that like super crisp looking footage or not, or if they would be just as happy if it was shot on the iPhone 15 Pro. I still got the 15 Pro. I didn't get the 16. The Pocket 3 has been a sick camera as well. I really like that camera. It's super stable. The one thing that I don't like about it is the autofocus on it feels a little bit trippy at times. But I have the same issue on my iPhone as well. I think it's because I like to shoot a lot of up close kind of shots, and that's just harder for the phone to focus. But yeah, I've done a little bit of thinking of if I should shoot more with the smartphone, shoot more with something like the Pocket 3 for this channel. But every time I see the footage and I see it side by side with the full size S5 IIX, the full frame camera, I just notice a huge difference in how crisp it is. So I don't know if people come to my videos because they like the crisp quality, or if it's being concise, or what the thing is that they're coming for. Another thing I've thought about recently too, I got a comment recently where someone told me I should talk longer, and I thought that was kind of a funny comment because I like to be as concise as possible. I feel like I'm rambling on this live stream, but I don't like to talk for a long amount of time because I know everyone's time is very important and precious to them. So I don't want to waste anyone's time. Like, I don't want to make a video that's 8 minutes long when it could be a video that's 4 minutes long. So there's some people who have said, oh, go into more detail, talk about more of this or more of that. I'm kind of the opinion that if you want more detail, you should probably go look for a detailed explainer video and not for a review or an overview, or maybe you should read the manual too. But I know not everyone reads the manual when they get stuff. I try to read the manual for most technical things because you can learn a lot of features that just by like playing with the camera or playing with something, you might not know that those features are built in until you go to need it later on, and then you're trying to figure out what it's called. So to me, it's just a little bit faster to read the manual first and then go search for stuff later on if I can't remember what it was. But at least by reading the manual in the beginning, you have all the knowledge at the beginning. Was that the Mac SSD video that you had watched? That one's been one that a lot of people have come for. Also, yeah, that Mac video, that one has got a lot of hits. I'm going to do a video about all the best keyboards and mouses for Mac at some point too. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I've tested most of the ones that are really popular: Apple Magic Mouse, Apple Magic Keyboard, the Logitech ones. Yeah, that one's really popular. I actually made a follow-up one to it too. It's like a late 2024 SSD guide. So if you haven't seen that one, you might check it out. I wish I could hold it up, but it's plugged into my computer right now. But Only in Digital sent me this 8 terabyte SSD a couple months ago, and that one has overtaken the SanDisk Pro G40 is my favorite one to use. The Pro G40 I'm still using sometimes, but I'm mostly using that OYN one, and I did not have that one when I made that first video. And also, I think there's a couple other companies that are starting to come out with the USB 4 drives as well. Oh, good. I'm glad you saw that one. It's basically the same video, but with a little bit more information on it. But yeah, I think there's going to be more USB 4 drives coming out soon. I'm surprised that SanDisk hasn't put one out yet. It seems like their company's having some issues right now. I know they split the company for flash storage and hard disk storage. So I don't know when they're going to have new products launching. I haven't heard from them in a while. I had a couple of really good contacts there, and I think they've been dealing with company stuff or something. I'm not completely sure. I need to reach out again. But yeah, more companies definitely need to put out the USB 4 drives, and I don't really know why. It seems like the last couple of years, a lot of the companies put out those drives like the T9, I think the Crucial X10 Pro. There's a couple of those other USB 3.2 dual lane drives, and I'm not really sure why they didn't just go straight up to USB 4, because there's so many computers that won't work with the dual lane. That's actually a really interesting topic to me, that if you Google the dual lane controversy with the Macs, it's a whole thing. There's a lot of people on like Mac Rumors and Reddit who are just talking about their opinion on why the drives don't get you those faster speeds. And yeah, I get a lot of comments of people saying that I'm wrong or I'm right, or there's different reasons for it. But basically, the way I understand it is, just because something is Thunderbolt compatible doesn't mean that the Thunderbolt has to support the USB 3.2 dual lane standard. So it could support it, but it almost seems like it's an Apple specific thing that they don't make their hardware support the dual lane, which is confusing because the port could technically support the speeds, but it's like it doesn't support the language that the dual lane is wanting to speak to make it work. So on the Mac side, the USB 4 drives do run at the full speed that they're supposed to offer, but the USB 3.2 dual lane ones do not. And I don't see any time that they will update that and make that different, because it might be something at the hardware level, and it just seems like, why would they do that when they've already moved on to USB 4? But that's kind of one of the cons of the USB connector as well, and I would love to talk about that, but I feel like Linus Tech Tips and some other people already made really good videos about the whole Type-C connector versus Thunderbolt and stuff like that. It's super nerdy, and it's really hard to explain, and I feel like I still don't even have the right words to explain it. But yeah, the USB-C connectors, I remember when the Macs came out in like 2016, where they got rid of all the ports, and I remember people being so mad about it. Like, my roommate in college told me, he's like, well, there's not going to be any ports on your computer. You're not going to be able to do anything. And I had the Sony, I think I had the Sony A7 III or A7R3 or something like that. And it had a USB-C port, and that's when I got it. I was like, oh, you can get the same cable, the same end on either side, and you can plug it into any port. You can charge it. You can transfer data. It's like, USB-C is genius, like the connector type. But it's kind of crazy how many different standards there are for both the charging speeds and the data transfer speeds. I have some of my Anker chargers that they won't charge certain devices through the USB-C port. So you can't use a C to C cable. You have to use a A to C cable, because for whatever reason it won't talk and tell it like to drop the voltage down or the current down. I'm not sure which of the two it is. But yeah, that's the one downside to the connector. It's so versatile that sometimes stuff doesn't work, and then it's really frustrating because you would think everything would work, but it's like, I think I have a headlamp plugged in back there, and I have a USB-A to USB-C cable that I keep there just to charge that headlamp. And I have, what was it? It was a wireless mic that Comica sent me a couple years ago, and I got super frustrated because I was trying to charge it with a MacBook charger, an Anker charger, and it wasn't working. I had to get a USB-A to C cable to be able to charge that one too. So yeah, I guess we got there because we were talking about those external SSDs. But yeah, I think there's a lot of confusion about those, and I have a video editor friend too that we talk a lot about drives and stuff. I call him more of an artist, and I call me more the tech nerd kind of guy. But he was asking me what kind of drive he should get recently. He's bought a bunch of those SanDisk Extremes. He's never had any issues with them, and I was like, oh, you should get the Pro G40, or you should get the OIN one, or one of the faster ones. He's like, well, they're so much more expensive, and I've never had any issues with those. I get some people commenting on my videos too, saying the T7 shield's fast enough, the T9's fast enough, the T7's fast enough. And I see where they're coming from, because if you're not running into any issues, or if you don't know just how fast your file transfers can really be with the best drives, then that's probably why you would be like, oh, this one's totally fine. Like, it's not causing me any issues. But once you get those USB 4 and those Thunderbolt 4 type of drives, and you see how fast you can move like a terabyte of data from one drive to the other, or from your computer to a drive, oh man, it's crazy. And then you don't have to worry as much too about them bogging down in the middle of an edit, because I know some people are like, oh, just unplug it when you're not using it and stuff like that. But man, some days when you're just editing for hours and hours, you just need something that works. So that's kind of why I just recommend getting the best thing possible if you're going to be in a professional environment with it. I think a lot about workflow, efficiency, file transfer, stuff like that. Actually, that's one of the reasons I switched over to the Lumix cameras. I got a couple of the V90 SD cards back in the Sony days, but I got all these Pro Blades from SanDisk. They sent me a few of these. I did end up buying quite a few of them as well. I think I'm up to like 10 of these now. But what's cool about these is there's actually a handle. I wish I had it right here. But there's a handle, and you put this drive in, and then you actually record straight to this SSD from your camera. And then whenever you can like plug the handle into your computer to transfer the files over. There's this whole station. It's called like the Pro Blade station or something like that. And it copies the files so fast. It uses Thunderbolt. And anytime I end up shooting an SD card on my camera and having to transfer a ton of files, and it takes like 7 or 8 minutes, I get really annoyed, because typically with the Pro Blades, it's like 30 seconds or something insanely fast like that. Which might not be a big deal to some people, but if you're transferring like 3 to 4 cameras worth of projects, then sometimes all those can add up. A few years ago, back in the COVID era, at work we were doing a lot of video recording, and we had like 5 or 6 cameras that we would do multicam shoots on, and we did all post edit on it. So it was just a mixture of like Sony A7 IIIs. I think we had an A7R3, A6700. We had like a random Nikon D850, maybe a Canon C100 as well. And the most annoying thing was always at the end of the shoot when I had to get like 6 different SD cards, and none of them were the fast ones. They were all the slow ones. Everything was in 4K, and it took like 20 or 30 minutes to get all the files offloaded onto the computer. I had a bunch of different computer SD card reader adapters, because that was when the computers still didn't have the SD card reader built back in anyways. And I just think now, like, man, if I could have recorded a bunch of these and been able to copy all of those over really fast, that would have been so much faster, because it would have taken like a minute to copy everything instead of taking like 20 or 30 minutes. Okay, so any computer monitors. I don't know if they actually make 4K 120 hertz monitors. If they do, I haven't seen them. I thought that 4K was just topping out at 60, still in the monitor space. And also, I'm not a gamer too. I don't know if you heard that at the beginning, but I'm not super well versed in that. But I stick with the LG panels a lot of times. I had a Samsung monitor before. It was pretty nice. It had a couple quirks, and it had some weird bleed around the edge of it that was a little strange at times. But one thing I would look into as well with the monitors is I don't know if the technology has advanced much in the last few years. It kind of seems like everyone is topped out on their technology, at least as of like 2020 or something like that is when it seemed like monitors kind of hit the point that they're still at right now. But I would just do a couple searches on the monitors and just double check like the release date on them, how long they've been out for, because I would guess that some of the newer ones might actually support the 4K 120, and they might be able to offer like better motion smoothing or something like that. I do know that there's some people who really like I can't think of the brand, but there's one company, it's like the ProArt displays. Really? Okay, I need to look up that after this is done, because I was not aware of that. I thought everything still topped out at like 60 hertz unless it was like 1440. Yeah, that's pretty pricey. So here's another thing I would say about monitors too. I've got the LG Ultrafine 27 inch over here, and it's a 5K one. I think I bought it in like 2017 or 2018, and I got it on Woot. It was refurbished or something like that. Probably like 950 or 1,000 at the time. So I've had maybe 4 different computers since then, but I'm still using the same monitor. It's got a little bit of edge banding, edge bleed on the side of it, but it still works fine. So, I mean, I'm of the opinion that you should really invest in a good monitor because it'll last you a super long time and you can just keep using it with all the different computers. And the monitor is ultimately what you end up staring at for most of that day. So, 360. What resolution is the 360? Is that a 1440 hertz or not 1440 hertz? 1440p. But yeah, I would say if all the good ones look like they're in that $1,000 range, a lot of times some of the companies are using the same exact tech and they're using the same panels just with different branding on the outside of it. So that might just be what the going rate is to get a monitor like that. But I would say if you get one from, LG or Samsung, you could probably expect to get 5 or 6 years out of it. I kind of want to get one of the Apple Studio displays, but I'm afraid that they're about to put a new one out, which that's a whole nother topic of if you always need the latest and greatest tech. But since I review stuff, I would rather get something right when it came out. But yeah, I've really been wanting one of the Studio displays, but I've already got the LG. The Studio display just has a couple updates with, I think, like some of the built-in processing that it has, and the webcam's better, the speakers are better, some stuff like that. But I thought about doing the LG on the side, going vertical and using it for browsing through clips, and then using the Studio display as the timeline in the viewer window. Yeah, if it's 1080, I'd say definitely upgrade. I'm using my Elgato prompter right now to read the comments, and I don't know what the resolution is on it. It's not a big deal because it's pretty small, but I definitely can tell when something is like 1080p or if it's a lower resolution. Since I'm so used to the 5K now, it really bothers me. And if I have to stare at it and read it for a long time, then just forget about it. It really bothers me. And if you're shooting a lot of great footage, then it's really enjoyable to watch it in like the full highest quality, so you can just be proud of your work and what you're working on too. But yeah, you can get my contact info on the channel too. Send me an email afterward as well, and I'll do a quick search on some of those monitors and I'll let you know what I think of them. Drink real quick. I've been checking Mac rumors a lot lately too to see if there's going to be an Apple event this month or not. I've been waiting for it, but it kind of seems like it's not going to happen now. It seems like we're going to go through October and not get the new Macs, but I'm really interested in like an M4 Studio, or I really just want to check out the new Mac Minis that they're probably about to come out with. Those have really been intriguing me to see if they're able to achieve the high quality and speeds that the M3 or that the M2 ones got, but in that smaller form factor. Like if they can somehow get those Mac Minis down to the size of an Apple TV, that's going to be crazy. I don't know if they're going to be able to. Yeah, well, everyone thought the M4 was going to come out this month. I still wouldn't be surprised if they did some sort of virtual event. It's just kind of strange because they went and they announced the iPad mini 7th generation just like on a random day of the week and just like put it for sale without a keynote or anything. And that was a pretty minor upgrade, but yeah, they just announced that. I wouldn't be surprised if they had the 14 and 16 inch M4s, if they did the Mac Studio, the Mac Mini. I really want the Mac Studio, but I would love to just get a Mac Mini just to try it, especially if they can make them super small and if they do come in that like $500 price range with like all the features that they're supposed to have. That would just be insane. Like I tell people all the time, I feel like this is the craziest time to be alive with what computers and technology is able to do these days. I mean, the size of stuff, the weight of stuff, the speed of stuff. I was shooting a video on Tuesday with a friend, and it was a mic comparison video, and we did a bunch of multi-track recording for it, and we were like playing back the recorded tracks. He had in-ears on, and we were playing back his voice singing into the in-ears with all the playback tracks through an actual soundboard. And then we were recording the new track of the microphones we were shooting out onto the board, or no, not onto the board, through the board onto Logic. And I just was like, man, stuff like this was not this powerful like 10 or 15 years ago, or when I was really doing a lot with music. So current PC build, I've got the M1 Pro. No, maybe it's M1 Max. Let me look. I think it's the M1 Max 14-inch MacBook Pro. Yeah, it's M1 Max, 32 gigs of RAM. I got the terabyte on it. I always regret that I didn't get the 2 terabyte, but that's part of how I got into testing all the different SSDs, because this one just fills up so fast with the 6K files. Yeah, I haven't used any Windows computers in a long time, but at work I've got a Mac Studio. I think we got like probably 10 M1 Mac Minis around the building. We've got a couple. I think we got a 16-inch M2 MacBook Pro. I wasn't super impressed with that one. But yeah, I'm thinking for me, I do most of my editing here. Like my desk is right here. I do most of my work here. So I'm probably just going to get a desktop computer this time, upgrade my monitor finally after not upgrading it for 7 or 8 years. And then I'll keep my M1 Max MacBook and use that to move it around if I ever need to do projects somewhere else. But then most of my projects I'll just do here. No, I was saying earlier that if anyone has a good PC recommendation, I should probably pick one up just so I can like at least run some disk tests and stuff for people, because right now the only thing I have to test with is an M1 Air and an M1 Max MacBook Pro. But I have a couple of other desktop Macs at work that sometimes I take drives to test over there if I need to. But yeah, I've had people tell me that I should pick up a PC just to do my tests on it. I tried to get into Premiere a couple years ago. I learned how to edit on, I can't even think of what it's called, iMovie. I was in college and I started making video highlight reels for the basketball players, and so I got really fast on iMovie, and I wanted some of the better features, so I went to Final Cut. So because Final Cut's just like iMovie with all the features unlocked. And then every time I've tried to use Premiere, or I think I tried DaVinci Resolve once or twice, oh man, I got so annoyed with it because I couldn't do anything I wanted to do. CapCut too. I've tried using CapCut and I sound like an old man, but it was just really getting on my nerves. Like it was almost too easy, and just the simple things I wanted to do didn't make sense to me. But yeah, I've wanted to get a PC and just run some tests on it every once in a while, test out different drives for people, see speeds and performances, but I just have never been able to get myself to spend the money on it. Like any money I would spend on a PC, I'd probably just want to put towards the studio display or put it towards the Mac Studio when that one comes out. What kind of PC build are you using right now? I will say when I was a kid, our computers would typically like roll one into the next. So we would take like the disk drive out and put it in a new one or something like that. And every once in a while we'd get a new tower and take all the components and put it in. And every time I go to actually change someone's SSD out in a Windows computer, I think, man, this is so easy. Like you can't do this with computer. Yeah, limited by the max storage. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, I should have set like a mobile camera up, but I've got like 12 of these SanDisk Pro blades, and I love these overall. There's a couple things about them that as I've used them longer get on my nerves. Like there's no label on the front of them, so like whenever you have it in the enclosure, this is what you see. So if you have 10 of these, you have no way of knowing which projects are on which, and they all just show up. So I'm honestly getting like pretty close into territory of needing to pick up a RAID at some point. And well, no, I have a RAID, but I'm talking like actual like Synology or something like that with like 7 or 8 drives and using that on the side. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I got in the Pro Blade, because I thought it's really annoying if you have a stack of like 6 of these drives laying around and then you want to change things out. 12, when's the giveaway? Oh man, so yes, giveaways are coming. I'm trying to figure out how to actually do them. There's a couple like issues that arise with doing a giveaway, collecting entries, shipping stuff out, that sort of stuff. But yeah, I have a pile of some stuff that some companies have sent me, and I've been wanting to pass some of that on. I'm also thinking about talking to some companies about doing some sort of like 10,000 subscriber giveaway, and there might be some drop shipping involved on that. But oh, and you were talking about the 12 Pro blades. Yeah, so I'm using all of them. That's the crazy thing. So with the S5 IIX, I shoot on the 1 TB and the 2 TB ones. I think I've got 3 of the 1 TB and 2 of the 2 TB ones, and so just busting my chops. That's funny. Hey, thanks again for the comment. I've seen you on a couple of my videos before, and I always appreciate the comments from you, man. But yeah, those Pro blades are cool. There's just some cons with them too. I did a long-term review, but I almost need to do like a long-term review. I've kind of been waiting to see what happens with SanDisk since their company has split up and stuff, like just to make sure they're still gonna stick around and support stuff for a while. I'm totally making this up. Like, they haven't told me anything. I don't know anything about what's going on right now aside from the emails that Western Digital sent everyone about how the company was splitting. But yeah, their Western Digital is selling the hard drives, and then SanDisk is selling the flash storage now. But there's some of the products that were like crossed over where they're the hard drive that also has the Pro Blade slot on it. So I'm not sure what their plan of support is for that. And I think in one of my first Pro Blade videos too, I even said like, how long are they going to keep coming out with these drives for? Like, if you get super into the ecosystem, are they going to stop selling them in like 5 years or something? But I guess that's a topic that would be interesting to talk about at some point, like how different storage mediums do become obsolete over time. And I mean, I don't know if you ever had a mini disc. I had a mini disc player when I was a kid. Most people haven't even heard of those, but yeah, after a while, I was like, man, you can't find the player for them or the discs for them either. So you got a 4080 Super. Which 990 Pro did you get? Did you get the 2 or the 4 on that one? I got a 1 TB of the 990 Pro, and that one's been working great in the enclosures I've tested it with. I haven't had it on an actual computer. Again, that's why I need to get a PC so I can actually do some more testing on some of these drives. Oh, you haven't used the transport yet? So I use the Pro Blade handle and I use the transport sometimes. Like, I have a clamp on one of my camera rigs, and I'll just use the transport on that and then use that to record to the SSD. And then on my cart build out, I also have a second transport, and I use that when I need to preview my footage if I'm not at my main desk setup. 2 TB 990 Pro, nice. So there's dual M2 slots on that motherboard, I'm assuming. I would say, again, I'm just making this up. I don't know about PC stuff, but I do think typically it's like the first slot is the priority slot, depending on how you're using it. And I don't know how. I know you can put your OS on one drive, and then you can run files on an external if you want, or a secondary one, but I haven't messed with that a ton. Oh, you got the G9 too. I've heard the G9 too is basically just the Micro Four Thirds S5 IIX. I had Micro Four Thirds back when I was in college, and I really liked it, except for the noise. But that was like 7 or 8 years ago. I had the GH4, the G7. I don't think I had a G3 or a GH3. But yeah, I went Lumix, and then I tried Canon for a little bit. I bought a 6D Mark I, and I did not like that camera. I was really expecting a lot out of it. The autofocus wasn't very good. There's no stabilization or anything. And I got the A7R3. Man, that was probably like 2017 or 2018, and I never looked back from Sony after that until the beginning of the year. I started shooting more short form stuff, and I got tired of turning the camera on the side. So it's like, oh, let's try the S5 IIX and record the SSDs and stuff. You kept all the Sony? Okay, so that's actually a really interesting thing, because I wanted to keep the Sony, and I almost did. Like, I almost just bought the bare minimum S5 IIX stuff that I would need, but then I was like, it makes more sense to have 2 of the S5 IIXs and to just have like a great lens collection. But I was shooting most of my stuff on, I think it was the FX30 24mm G Master, and then I bought the 20 to 70 Sony f4, like right before I ended up selling all my Sony stuff, that lens was so cool. Like being able to go all the way from 20 to 70 is so cool, so lightweight, worked great on crop and full frame. That's the lens. If Lumix had like the 20 to 60 lens they have, the aperture changes on it, if they could do a 20 to 70 f4, that lens would be so great. I've got the 24 to 105 f4 on the S5 IIX. I use this one a lot. I'm using the 35 right now. I like the 35 a little bit better than the 24. I've got the 24, 35, 85, the kit lens, the 14 to 28 wide angle, and the 24 to 105 on Lumix. And those have been great, but I kind of wanted to keep the Sony stuff too. I almost just thought about getting the FX3 because the main thing that like put the nail in the coffin for me is I got really tired of the noise on the FX30, and the A7 IV, the recording was just randomly shutting off. I think they fixed that in a firmware update a month or two ago. And then I wanted the SSD recording and I wanted the open gate recording. So those were like the two reasons that I bought the Lumix system instead. Oh, you left your PC to collect dust. Yeah, I have some friends who are the other way around from you. They were on PC and I've been telling them about Mac for years, and now they're on Mac and they're like, "Oh, Adam, like I see why you tried to get us to like the unified system of all the Mac stuff." But it's funny because if I have a question about computer parts or building stuff, I usually text them. Saw my Anker Fusion review. The Anker Fusion, I wish I had it right by me. Is that the power bank one that you're talking about, like the 65 watt one or 67 watt? That one is honestly my favorite power bank. It's very compact. I was using a MacBook charger at first, and I swapped it out for AO. He had like a 140 watt one that was the same size as the MacBook charger, so I was using that, and then just random power banks. And then I was testing some of the other Anker power banks out for like the everyday carry, like what's always in my backpack. And then, yeah, the 9.6K one. Okay, so that one basically replaced my computer power adapter, and it also replaced carrying a bigger power bank around for me most of the time. So now I typically carry that, but sometimes I do take one of their MagSafe power banks or one of their small ones with the USB-C cable. The main thing I don't like about the 9.6K one that Anker has, no built-in cable, so it's just not as convenient when you're on the go that you have to carry a cable around. Like I'm talking if you just got it in your pocket, you're like going the bare minimum in your kit when you're traveling around. But if you got a backpack, it doesn't really matter. And in some ways it's more versatile because you can use two longer cables with it, and you can charge a phone and a tablet or something like that overnight. So I think it's really versatile. The 9.6K capacity is pretty small with the wattage that you're getting out of it too. So that has kind of felt like the conundrum with that. Like if they had that one, but in a 20K instead of a 9.6K, it would be fantastic because it charges really fast. It charges your devices fast, whether it's powered from the wall or not. But if you actually want to power your computer with it on the go, it's really just good for like a quick trip to the coffee shop or something like that. So yeah, it does not last super long. I have the 27,650 milliamp hour one. That one lasts basically forever, and it charges super fast too. But if you think about your kit with that, it's not good to carry around with you. Like if you're just, shopping at the mall or something like that and you need a power bank. And then it takes up a lot of space in your backpack, takes up a lot of space in your car, and you still have to have a car charger or a charger for a wall outlet to plug it in. And you'll still want a smaller power bank too. That way that you can have something slimmer to carry. Like, actually, I do have one of them right here. Like this one, they sent me this one a couple months ago. I've been using this one a lot. It's the Ultra Slim. I don't remember the capacity. Maybe it's like a 10K. But this one's MagSafe, so you just put it on the back and it works. So sometimes I pair this one with the 9.6K. So I use this one when I just need something for the phone real quick. And then I use the 9.6K if I'm sitting somewhere longer, want to charge multiple devices, want to power my iPad on the couch or something like that. So that one's great too. So, okay, here's a question on the G9 that you could give me an answer for maybe. How does it do at higher ISOs? Because that's one of the things about the S5 IIX. I was just telling a friend the other day, I shoot on the S5 IIX at like one of the highest ISOs on it a lot of times, and I don't even fret or worry about noise. And you can see it, but it doesn't look bad on it. So that's partly just like the full frame advantage. But yeah, that's part of why I like using the S5 2X, is because you can shoot the super high ISOs. I don't really care about depth of field. I shoot at f4 a lot since I do so much macro and close-up stuff. My favorite movie or series. So I've been into the Marvel stuff for a long time. It kind of feels like the last few years it like has fallen off a little bit, but I'm excited for what they've got coming up with it. I really like Ted Lasso a lot. I thought Ted Lasso was pretty good. The middle of season 2 I don't like as much, and then season 3 I felt like they got away from Ted too much. That's just my opinion, but I love Ted Lasso. Like season 1 and the first half of season 2 I thought was really good. Yeah, I haven't been to the theater in a long time. I haven't seen any new movies in a while. I mostly just watch TV while exercising. I'm not really a sit down and watch TV kind of person. Yeah, it was like when they put Eternals out, it just wasn't very good. And then Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness I liked, but it felt like they were missing a couple things, or like they tried to rewrite it too many times or something like that. I didn't see Captain Marvel 2. I haven't seen Guardians 3 yet. I need to watch them at some point. I just haven't sat down long enough in front of the TV to watch those. But yeah, I haven't watched any other TV series in a while. I was kind of into reality TV for a little bit, but I got out of that. When you do YouTube, you've always got videos to edit too. And I'm kind of the opinion that I'd rather work on my own content than watch content that other people put out, unless it's going to help me work on something. No way. Yeah, I do want to see Guardians 3. Like, I loved Guardians 1. I love Guardians 2. But I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I just need to have like 2 hours that I can sit down and actually watch it and enjoy it. I am really curious to see if they're going to make I guess they said they're going to make Ted Lasso season 4, which I did like the ending of season 3. Like, I'm not going to spoil it just in case someone hasn't seen it. I like the ending of it, but it felt like they were really closing the door for season 4. And just depending on what they do with season 4, it might detract from the ending of season 3, which in my opinion there wasn't a lot of great stuff going on in season 3 anyways. So I would hate to take away the good ending of season 3 just to carry it on, especially when they said that they weren't going to do that. But I mean, Jason Sudeikis could probably be convinced to just direct it, even if he's not in it. Low light's horrible. Yeah, that's the same issue that I had with the G7. And again, I'm so out of the Micro Four Thirds world that I don't even know what I'm talking about with it. But I did a lot of event photography with it, and the lighting wasn't always very good. And like even shooting at f2.8, if you try to shoot like ISO 3200 on the G7, it just looked terrible. Like I would shoot a lot of like 200 for shutter speed, f2.8, and it didn't look good. Yeah, you should totally try Ted Lasso out. You might not like it. Like, I'd say give it 3 episodes on season 1. The first episode didn't make much sense, but it was fun to go back and watch later on. But yeah, give it at least 3. Okay, the 12 to 35, I had that lens. That lens was really cool. Like, the size of it it's crazy how small it is. You're making me want to try Micro Four Thirds again at some point. I've got all the lights in the world here. Like, most of what I shoot is my own stuff these days. What is the kit lens for that one? I might have to look it up. I don't know if they're still using the same kit lens that they've been using for like the last 30 years of Micro Four Thirds as well. I don't really worry too much about background blur for cameras either anymore. I mean, I know my background's blurry right now, but yeah, typically I'm farther away from the camera showing stuff off on a table, so I don't shoot at f1.8 a bunch. Every time I try it, I get mad at myself that I did f1.8 and went for the blurry look. So that's where I thought Micro Four Thirds could be kind of cool, because some of those cameras I've seen, it's really crisp, and that's kind of the look I like to go for. It's just super crisp footage, close up kind of stuff. And the G9 too, did it come out? I guess I could just look it up. I don't remember when the G9 II came out, but I remember looking into it when I had bought a couple of things for my S5 IIX. (12 to 60, 3.5 to 5.6). That sounds like a super useful focal length. Okay, September 2023 is when that one came out. And then the S5 IIX came out in January last year. Wow, so it's, yeah, and I got the S5 IIX in January of this year when they started doing all the rebates and stuff. I did a video a couple weeks ago too about what I want to see in the upcoming Lumix cameras as well. And I've been thinking about that some more. Mainly it's just like if they could do 4K 120 and get rid of the moire that the S5 IIX has, that would be really cool. Those are like the main two things I want. I almost got a third S5 IIX because it's such a good camera, but I thought, well, they're going to come out with something anyways soon. Hey, thank you for joining. I would say my advice for YouTube is I would honestly just go for it, because I tried it like 7 or 8 years ago. I bought the Rode VideoMic Pro Plus when it came out, and I shot a terrible unboxing review of it, and the audio was clipped on it, and the setup was not good. I hated how I looked. I hated how the video looked, and I left it up for like a week, and then I was like, no, I'm taking this down. I took it off, and then I didn't try YouTube again for like 6 more years after that. So my big regret with YouTube is I just wish I would have done it sooner and kept going with it. So yeah, my advice to you is just start posting something, do anything with it. But thank you for the kind words and for chatting some. Send me an email later or message me on Instagram. You can get that info from my profile, because I did want to talk to you about some of those other motherboard things and stuff like that. And I think we were talking about the computer monitor a little bit ago as well. I actually probably have to go here in a minute. I got a couple of video projects I need to get back to editing. But yeah, I appreciate talking to you guys. I don't know how many people are out there listening. Thanks to the people who left some comments. It was great to talk to you guys about cameras, computers, everything in between, even a little bit of TV. I didn't expect that kind of comment on it. But yeah, thanks again for watching, everyone. Hope to see you guys soon. Take care.